The day is letting go. You feel it first on your skin. The heat that pressed against your shoulders all afternoon is thinning now, lifting away into a sky that has begun to change its color. The hard white light of midday is gone. In its place there is gold, low and level, pouring across the land from the edge of the world, catching the tops of the grass and turning them to soft fire. You are walking home, not to a house, not to a door, but to a place by the water where your people gather when the light goes. Your feet know the way. They have walked it many times, and the ground is warm beneath them, holding the last of the sun. All around you the world is slowing down. This is the hour when the day loosens its grip. The wind that moved through the afternoon has quieted to a breath. The insects that shrilled in the heat have softened their voices. Somewhere ahead, near the water, you can hear the low sound of people who have arrived before you, and the smell of smoke reaches you on the cooling air, thin and sweet and familiar. Long before you, for more years than anyone could ever count, human beings have walked home in exactly this light. This is one of the oldest feelings there is. The body knows it. As the sun sinks, something inside you begins to settle, the way an animal settles, the way water settles when the hand is lifted from it. The day is ending, and the ending is gentle. You come over a low rise, and the camp opens below you. It sits on the shore of a wide, still lake, where the reeds stand black against the shining water. A handful of low shelters cluster near the bank, rounded huts of bent branches and grass, their shapes soft in the failing light. And there, in the middle of them, is the fire. It is small yet, only just fed, but it is enough. It is the brightest thing in the whole valley now, brighter than the lake, brighter than the pale sky, and around it you can see the shapes of the people you know. Someone is crouched low, coaxing the flames. Someone else is laying out something to eat. A child runs between them and is caught up, laughing, into a lap. We know that camps very much like this one truly existed. On the shore of an ancient lake, in a place we now call Ohalo, the ground has kept the memory of a gathering from more than 20,000 years ago. There were rounded huts of brush and branch, arranged close together. There were hearths where fires were lit again and again. There were grasses laid soft across the floors. People slept there and ate there and watched the same water darken under the same evening sky. They are gone now, gone so far back into the past that we can scarcely hold the distance in our minds, but the shape of their evening was the shape of yours. Home and water and firelight and other people close by. You walk down toward the light. The air grows cooler with every step, and it is a good coolness, a relief after the long heat of the day. You can feel your body welcoming it. Your breathing has changed without your deciding it. It has grown slower, deeper, easier. This is what the body does when the danger of the day is done and the safety of the fire is near. It lets the shoulders drop. It lets the hands unclench. It lets the long muscles of the legs remember that they have carried you far and that they may soon rest. Above the lake, in the deepening blue, the first star appears. It is faint at first, a single point so soft you might have imagined it. Then it steadies and holds, and you know it is real. In a little while there will be another and another, until the whole sky is scattered with them. But for now there is only this one, hanging over the water, and the people below who have not yet looked up to see it. No one is hurrying. That is the feeling of this hour above all others. There is nowhere else to be. The work of the day, the walking and the searching and the gathering, is finished. What remains now is only the fire and the food and the night and one another. There is a kind of wealth in that which is hard to name. It is the wealth of arriving, of being expected, of coming to the one place in all the wide, dark land where you are known. You step in among the shelters, and the firelight reaches you. You feel it before you are close, a gentle warmth against the front of your body, welcome after the cooling air. The light moves on the faces around you, and the faces turn, and there is that small, quiet acknowledgement that needs no words. You are here. You are counted. The circle is one person more complete than it was a moment ago. Someone shifts to make a space for you, and you lower yourself down to the warm ground near the flames. For a while you do nothing at all. You simply sit and let the fire hold you, and watch the last of the gold drain out of the western sky. The lake has gone the color of dark stone. The reeds have lost their edges. The shelters behind you are only soft shapes now, and the world beyond the firelight is folding itself away into the dark, quietly, without alarm. The way it has folded away every evening since long before your people were your people. There is nothing to fear in it. The dark is not empty. It is full of the ordinary night, the night that has always come, the night your grandmother knew, and her grandmother before her, back and back beyond all remembering. And here, at the center of it, is the fire, and around the fire, the people, and around the people, the shelters and the grass beds waiting. And over it all, the slow turning, star-filled sky. You breathe out. The day is fully gone now. The night has begun, and you are safe inside it. The fire is the heart of the camp, and someone is always tending it. Watch them now, the ones nearest the flames. There is an ease in how they move, the ease of people doing something they have done 10,000 times. A hand reaches out and lays a branch across the coals, just so. A foot nudges a fallen ember back toward the center. No one gives an order, no one needs to. The care of the fire is shared among them all, the way breathing is shared, without thought and without ceasing. You watch a piece of wood settle into the coals. For a moment nothing happens. Then a thin line of smoke rises from it, curling and pale, and the underside begins to glow, and all at once a small flame climbs up along the grain and takes hold. The fire has eaten, and it is content. It brightens, and the brightness pushes the dark back another arm's length, and the faces around the circle grow a little clearer in the light. There is a sound to a fire like this that you feel you could listen to forever, the soft roar of the flames themselves, low and steady, the tick and settle of the burning wood. Now and then a sharp, small crack as a pocket of sap bursts, and a scatter of sparks lifts upward, spiraling, brief as fireflies, and winks out against the dark before it can ever reach the stars. The smell of it is in everything. Wood smoke, and beneath the wood smoke the sweetness of resin, and beneath that the older, deeper smell of ash and warm stone. It is in your hair and on your hands, and in the very fibers of the skins you wear. It is the smell of safety. To the oldest parts of the human mind, smoke means people, and people mean the fire, and the fire means the night can be faced. The keeping of fire is one of the oldest arts our kind has ever known. It is far, far older than these shelters, older than this lake, older than the words anyone here would use to speak of it. Long after these nights, people who study the deep past went looking for the first fires, and they found their traces in the most unlikely places, in the dark of ancient caves. In layers of earth pressed down by an almost unimaginable weight of time. In one great cave in the south of Africa, a place called Wonderwork, they found burned bone and pale ash resting deep inside, far past the reach of any wildfire. In ground so old it strains the mind to speak of it, perhaps 1,000,000 years old, that fire. By some careful reckonings, older still. Whoever left it there was not yet a person quite like you. They were an earlier kind of human, walking the world long before your people came to be. And yet already, in the dark of that cave, they had done the very thing you see being done before you now. They had brought fire in from the wild world, and gathered around it, and kept it alive. Think of that for a moment, gently, as the flames move in front of you. For a length of time so vast it can barely be held in the mind, human hands have been feeding fires just like this one. Reaching out, laying on the wood, nudging the coals, coaxing the flame back to life when it burned low. The gesture in the hand beside you tonight is a gesture older than your kind. It has been passed down, hand to hand, fire to fire, across more nights than there are stars in the sky above the lake. There were places where the fire almost never went out. In a cave that people return to over and over, across lengths of time we can hardly measure, those who study the past found a great hearth in the very center. A broad patch of earth burned again and again in the same spot, season upon season, until the ash lay deep. Around it were the tools and the bones of countless meals. It was the middle of the world for the people who used it, the place everything else arranged itself around, the warm center of the dark. That is what the fire is here too, not merely a thing that gives heat, though it gives heat, not merely a thing that gives light, though it gives light. It is the center. It is the place the circle forms around, the thing that turns a patch of open ground into a home. Take the fire away, and there is only cold and scattered dark. Set it burning, and in an instant there is a here. There is an inside and an outside. There is a place to belong. You reach out your own hands toward it now. The warmth soaks into your palms and along your fingers and up into your wrists, loosening something there that the cool evening air had begun to tighten. You turn your hands slowly, letting the heat find the backs of them. This, too, is one of the oldest comforts there is. The simple animal pleasure of warm hands on a cool night held out to a fire that other hands are keeping alive. Someone across the circle lays on another branch. The flames rise to meet it. The light swells, gentle and gold, and moves across all the gathered faces, and for a moment you see them clearly. The old and the young, the tired and the content, every one of them turned inward toward the same warm center, every one of them held in the same soft light. Above, the sky has filled with stars while you were watching the flames, but you do not need to look up yet. There is time. The whole night is ahead of you, unhurried, and the fire will be tended through all of it. When your own eyes close at last, someone will still be here, feeding the flames, keeping the warm center burning. You do not have to hold the fire alone. No one here ever has. You draw your warmed hands back to your lap, and you let your gaze rest in the moving heart of the flames, where the coals pulse orange and deep red, breathing brighter and dimmer as the air moves through them, slow as a sleeping chest rising and falling. The fire is kept, you are warm. The night holds steady around the light. Now comes the eating, and with it a deep and simple gladness. All day the food has been gathering toward this moment. There were roots pulled from the earth with a digging stick and carried home in a fold of hide. There were seeds and small sweet things gathered along the way. From the lake there were fish, and from the grass beyond the camp there was the meat of the hunt, wrapped and waiting. Now, in the firelight, all of it comes together, and the good smell of cooking rises into the dark. You watch the food set close to the coals. Something is laid on a hot, flat stone at the fire's edge, and almost at once it begins to hiss softly and to brown. Fat runs and catches and flares for an instant with a bright, small crackle. The smell that lifts from it reaches deep into you, past all thought, to the oldest hunger, and your mouth waters, and your stomach turns over in glad anticipation. There are few smells in all the world as good as food cooking on a fire when you are tired and cool and have walked a long way home. We know how much these evening meals mattered because the ground has kept the leavings of them. In that lakeshore camp of long ago, the one whose brush huts and hearths still lie beneath still water, the floors were scattered with the quiet evidence of countless suppers. There were the bones of fish taken from the lake and the bones of the animals of the plain. There were the tiny, hard remains of many kinds of plant, more kinds than you might think, gathered from all around. There were the grinding stones where seeds were crushed to meal. These were not people who ate one poor thing and went hungry. These were people who knew their whole world and drew from every corner of it, and who brought all of it home at evening to the fire. The food comes to you. It is passed from hand to hand around the circle, and this passing is itself a kind of quiet language. No one takes more than a share. No one is forgotten. The old are given something soft. The children are given something first. A portion arrives in your own hands, warm, and you cup it and feel the heat of it against your fingers, and you wait, as everyone waits, for that unspoken moment when the sharing is done and the eating may begin. Then you eat, and it is very good. The food is simple and it is enough, and being simple and enough, it satisfies in a way that is complete. There is the soft, flowery warmth of a roasted root. There is the clean richness of fish, its flesh falling apart in tender flakes. There is, from a cracked bone, the deep marrow that the body craves on a cool night, rich and warming, the best of the whole animal saved for the fire. You eat slowly. There is no reason to hurry. The night is long, and the food is shared, and there is a kind of peace in a meal taken this way, among people, in the light, with the dark held back beyond the ring of warmth. Around you the talk is easy and low. Someone tells, between mouthfuls, of where the water was clear today, of a track seen in the mud by the shore. Someone laughs at something small. A child, half-fed and drowsy already, leans into the side of a grandmother and is absently stroked, and does not quite fall asleep, and does not quite stay awake. The fire ticks and settles. The flat stone hisses as another portion is laid to cook. Full bellies make for gentle voices, and the voices move around the circle like the smoke, unhurried, going nowhere in particular, in no hurry to arrive. You feel the food begin its slow work inside you. It is a warmth that spreads out from the center of the body, different from the warmth of the fire on your skin, deeper and more lasting. It reaches into your limbs. It reaches into the long-held tiredness of the day and begins, softly, to loosen it. This is the body being restored. This is the body being told, in the plainest possible way, that it is provided for, that the day's work has borne its fruit, that there is no need now for watchfulness or effort, that it may begin, at last, to let go. The eating winds down of its own accord, hands slow. The last good portions are finished. Someone wipes greased fingers on the grass. The flat cooking stone is left to cool at the fire's edge, and a new quiet settles over the circle, rounder and heavier than the quiet before the meal. The deep contentment of people who are warm and fed and together and safe. You lean back a little on your hands. The fire has burned down to a steadier, lower flame, its first fierce hunger satisfied like your own. Its light is softer now, and warmer in color, gold going to amber, and it lays a gentle glow across every face in the circle. Beyond those faces the dark stands quietly, holding the lake and the reeds and the sleeping land, asking nothing of you. Somewhere out in that dark, a night bird calls once and falls silent. No one stirs. It is only the ordinary night, going about its ordinary business, the way it always has. Here at the fire there is food in you, and warmth around you, and your own people at your side, and the long calm hours of the evening still stretch ahead, unspent. You breathe in the smell of smoke and cooling ash and the last trace of the meal, and you breathe out slowly, and you feel how ready your body is becoming, by small degrees, for rest. But not yet. The fire is bright enough still, and the circle is awake, and now, in the fullness that comes after eating, is when the talking truly begins. Full dark has come now, and with it the circle draws in. You can feel the change without anyone naming it. While the meal was eaten, the last blue faded from the west, and the sky settled into deep and total night. The lake is invisible now, except where starlight touches it. The land beyond the camp has become one soft darkness, without edges, without distances. The world, which all day was wide, has grown small. It has shrunk to the reach of the firelight, and everyone you care for is inside it. People move closer without deciding to. A shoulder finds a shoulder. A child crawls from one lap to a better one. Someone drags a sleeping hide nearer the warmth and folds themselves onto it with a long, contented breath. The circle that was loose while the food was passed grows tighter now, rounder, until the fire sits at the middle of a single gathered body of people, all facing inward, all sharing the same light. The night does this, it has always done this. In the day, your people scatter. They walk their separate ways across the land, some to the water, some to the grass, some to the trees, each carrying their own errand, their own thoughts, their own small distances from one another. Daylight is for that. Daylight is wide and busy and full of tasks. But night is a different country. In the night there is nowhere to scatter to, and nothing to scatter for, and so the people come back together, and the things that kept them apart in the daylight lie down and go quiet. You can see it happening around the fire now, gently, in small ways. Two people who spoke shortly to each other at midday over some small matter already half forgotten are sitting near each other now, not speaking and not needing to. The frictions of the day do not survive the fire. They are daylight things. The night is too large for them, and the circle is too close for them, and so they simply fade, the way the heat of the afternoon faded, and nobody mourns them. An old one settles slowly, joints easing, into the best warm place, and this is right, and everyone knows it is right, and a folded skin is passed over to cushion the ground. A mother lies back with a small one tucked in the bend of her arm, and the small one's eyes are already losing their focus, sliding from the flames to the sparks to nothing at all. The dogs of the camp, if this camp keeps them, curl at the edges of the circle, noses under tails, one ear still raised out of ancient habit to the dark beyond. There is a kind of intelligence in how the circle arranges itself, though no one is arranging it. The youngest and the oldest drift toward the middle, nearest the warmth, most surrounded. The strong sleep a little further out, without being told, without thinking of it, simply because that is the shape a band of people takes when it settles for the night, and has been the shape for longer than anyone can say. Those who study the deep past have found this same pattern pressed into the floors of ancient shelters, the hearth at the center. The signs of rest gathered close around it. The living circle, drawn in the earth in ash and stone, still readable after unthinkable stretches of time. You find your own place in it. You are neither at the center nor at the edge. You are simply within it, one shape among the shapes, one warmth among the warmths. On one side of you the fire moves and murmurs. On the other side, an arm's length away, someone you have known your whole life is settling down with a quiet sigh, and the ordinary sound of it, cloth and hide and breath, is more comforting than any words. The voices around the circle are lower now. That is another thing the night does. Nobody chooses to speak softly. The softness simply arrives. Words that would have been called across the camp in daylight are passed along quietly now, hand to hand like the food was, and there are longer and longer spaces between them. And the spaces are not empty. They are full of the fires ticking, and the far small sounds of the night, and the simple, sufficient fact of being together. In those spaces, you can feel your own body loosening its last holds on the day. Your legs, crossed beneath you, have gone heavy and warm. Your back, which worked all day, has found the angle where it can rest. Your hands lie open in your lap, doing nothing, needing to do nothing. Even your face is changing, though you cannot see it. The small muscles around your eyes and mouth, which hold themselves ready all day for looking and speaking, are letting go, one by one, until your face wears the same soft, open, firelit expression as every other face in the circle. The expression people have worn at evening fires since before there were words for it. Beyond the circle, the dark stands close, and it does not trouble you. This close darkness is not the same as being alone in the dark. It is the opposite of that. It is darkness with a warm center, darkness with your people in it. The dark holds the camp the way water holds an island all around, touching everywhere, and the island simply rests in it, lit and quiet and whole. Somewhere out on the lake, water stirs once, softly, as some small night creature goes about its business. The reeds whisper and are still. The fire answers with a settling of coals, a little sigh of sparks. The circle is drawn now. The night is around it. Everything that matters is inside. And in the fullness of that closeness, with the children drowsing and the fire low and steady, someone across the flames clears their throat gently and shifts and begins, in a slow, warm voice, to speak. Something happens to human voices after dark. You have heard it all your life, and you hear it now as the talk begins to move around the fire. It is not the talk of the daytime. Daytime talk is quick and practical and pointed. Where is the water good? Who is going which way? What needs carrying? What needs mending? Who said what to whom? Daytime talk is a tool, like a digging stick, made for getting things done, and when the thing is done, the talk is done too. But this, now, in the firelight, is something else. The voice that has begun to speak across the flames is not asking for anything. It is not settling anything. It is unrolling, slowly, like a hide being smoothed flat, and what it carries is not a task, but a telling, a remembering. It begins the way these tellings always begin, somewhere else and some time ago. In the time of the grandmother's grandmother, in the winter when the lake froze to the middle, in the far country beyond the hills where the other people live, the ones related to the cousin who married away. And the circle settles in to listen. Long after these nights, in a time unimaginably distant from this fire, people who wanted to understand the deep human past went and sat at fires very much like this one. Among them was a listener who spent years with the gentle people of the African plains, people who still lived by gathering and hunting, and who still gathered at night around their fires the way people always had. She listened carefully, day and night, to what was actually said, and she wrote it down, and she counted. And what she found was simple and beautiful. In the daylight, the talk was almost all practical. Work and plans and complaints, and the small frictions of living together chewed over and passed around. Stories were hardly told at all while the sun was up. There was no room for them. The day was too busy. But at night, by firelight, everything turned over. The complaints faded with the light, the planning was set aside, and the talk became, almost entirely, stories. Hour after hour of them, stories of the ancestors, stories of faraway kin, stories of animals who spoke and acted like people. Stories that made the listeners laugh, and stories that made them quiet, and stories that carried, hidden inside them like marrow inside bone, everything the people knew about how to live. The firelight, she understood, was doing something to the human mind. The day narrows people down to what is in front of them. The fire opens them out. In the moving light, with the body at rest and the belly full and the dark holding everything close, the mind lifts away from the present moment and begins to travel, backward into memory, outward to distant places and distant people, inward to the things that are hard to say in plain daylight. The fire has been doing this to human minds for as long as there have been fires. And human minds, it may be one of the ways our minds became what they are. You feel it working on you now. The voice moves through its telling, rising a little, falling a little, and you are no longer entirely here. Part of you is away in the story, walking its paths, seeing its country. The teller's hands move in the firelight, shaping a hill, a river, the size of a fish that gets a ripple of soft laughter from the circle because everyone knows the fish grows larger every time this story is told, and the teller knows they know. And that is part of the pleasure, part of the game that has been played at fires forever. Around you, the circle listens the way people listen at night, not sharply, not straining, but openly, easily, the way the ground receives rain. The children who are still awake have gone very still, eyes wide and shining in the light, and the story is pouring into them, and years from now, at other fires, it will pour out of them again, changed a little, grown a little, alive. That is what these evenings are for, though no one here would say it that way. There is no writing in this world. Everything the people know, every path, every danger, every kindness, every name, lives only in living memory, and memory is fed at the fire. The nightly telling is the library of this world. It is the school and the temple and the theater of it, all made out of breath and firelight, rebuilt from nothing every single evening, and every single evening it is enough. The first story finds its ending. There is a murmur around the circle, the low, warm sound people make when a telling lands well. Someone adds a small remembered detail. Someone else laughs quietly and disputes it. The talk eddies for a while, loose and easy, and a stick is laid on the fire, and the flames lift to take it, and the light breathes brighter across the gathered faces. You let your eyes rest on the flames while the voices move around you. You do not need to follow every word. That is one of the deep comforts of the fireside. The talk does not require you. It carries you. It goes on whether you attend to it or drift from it, like the sound of the lake, like the wind in the reeds, and you can rise into it and sink away from it as softly as breathing. Voices of your own people, low and unhurried, close by in the dark. There may be no older comfort in all the world. Beside you, someone draws a hide up over a child who has finally gone under, mid-story, one small hand still curled in the grass. The teller sees and smiles and does not pause, and the story moves on over the sleeping head like slow water over a smooth stone. And now the circle quiets a little further, and shifts, and turns its attention, because the smallest listeners are asleep, and the fire is settled, and the night is deep enough at last for the long story, the old one, the one that is only ever told like this, in the middle of the night, in the middle of the circle, in the light of a well-kept fire. Every people has its long story, and tonight you will hear a part of yours. There is a change in the circle when it begins. Even the fire seems to know. The teller tonight is one of the old ones, and before the first word there is a pause, a long, unhurried, gathering pause, while the fire is looked into and the memory is found, and the road of the telling opens up in the mind. Nobody hurries this pause. It is part of the story. It is the doorway of it. Then the voice begins, lower than before and slower, and the long story starts to unwind. It begins, as it always begins, at the beginning, before this camp, before this lake. In the first times, when the world was being made, and the ancestors walked through it naming things, how the water came to lie where it lies, how the hills came to stand where they stand, why the moon changes her face, and why the birds of the morning sing when they sing, and how people first came to have fire, which in the story was not found but given, or perhaps stolen, carried in a hollow reed by a clever one who ran all night while the sparks burned close to his hands. You have heard this story all your life. That is not a weakness of it, that is its power. You heard it first as a child, lying where the sleeping children lie now, and it entered you before you could weigh or question it, and it has been part of the inside of your mind ever since. The hills you walk today are the hills of the story. The moon that is rising now is the moon of the story. The long story is not entertainment. It is the shape of the world told aloud, so that the world stays whole. Long after these nights, the people who study the deep past came to understand what tellings like this one carried. They listened to the fireside stories of living peoples, and inside the stories they found maps, real ones, paths to water in dry country, folded inside the journey of an ancestor. Warnings about places and seasons, dressed as the deeds of animals. The proper ways of marriage and sharing and peace between distant bands, all carried inside tales of long ago kin, so that a child laughing at a story was also, without knowing it, learning the whole law of their people. Nothing was written and nothing was lost. The stories held it all, and the fires kept the stories, night after night after night, across spans of time that swallow imagination. And some of those stories, told at fires like this one, may be old beyond believing. There are tellings still alive in the world, passed mouth to mouth, that seem to remember real things the land itself has forgotten. Coastlines that drowned when the seas rose at the end of the great cold, so long ago that only the stories kept their shape. If that is so, then a story can outlive mountains of ice. A story can outlive the very shoreline it was first told on. Nothing else human lasts so long, not tools, not shelters, not names. Only the stories, riding the firelight down through the generations, from mouths long gone to ears not yet born. The long story moves on through the dark. The old voice rises and falls in its ancient rhythm, and the rhythm itself is soothing, older than the words, a rocking of sound that the body answers before the mind does. Certain phrases return again and again, worn smooth by 10,000 tellings, and each time they return, the circle settles a little deeper, because the return of the known phrase is like the return of the tide, like the return of the seasons, a promise that the world repeats, that the world holds, that the world can be trusted. You are drifting in the telling now, and that is as it should be. No one attends to every word of the long story. It is not that kind of listening. The story washes through the circle, and each listener rides it in their own way. Here catching a bright image, there sinking into the pure sound of the voice. And the children asleep in the middle of the circle are hearing it too, in their own way, the rhythm of it entering their dreams, becoming the floor their dreams are built on. You yourself heard years of this story asleep. It is in you deeper than remembering. The fire burns low, and no one builds it high again, because the long story is a story for embers. The light is orange now, and soft, and it does not flicker so much as breathe, and the teller's face above it is half in darkness, the way the faces of tellers have always been, half here in the circle and half away in the story, in the first times, with the ancestors, walking the world while it was new. Your eyes have closed without your noticing. You are not asleep, not yet. You are in the listening place, the warm, shallow water at the edge of sleep, where the voice still reaches you and the words have loosened from their meanings and become pure comfort, pure belonging. The sound of your own people keeping the oldest thing they own alive in the middle of the night. The long story does not so much end as arrive. It comes down out of the first time, slowly, generation by generation, name by name, closer and closer to now, until at last it reaches the edge of living memory and steps quietly across it. And the voice says the names of grandmothers that the oldest listeners knew with their own eyes, and then softer names, and then it settles, like a bird folding its wings, into silence. No one speaks for a while. That silence, too, is part of the story. The circle rests inside it, filled. Then someone stirs, and lays one small branch on the embers for the sake of the light. And above the camp, unnoticed while the story held everyone, the whole vast river of the night sky has wheeled slowly westward, thick with stars. And now, one by one, in the quiet after the telling, the faces around the fire begin to tip upward and look. Lie back now, and look up, and let the sky take you. The ground receives you easily. The grass is cool under your shoulders, and the fire is warm along your side and above you. Filling everything from one dark edge of the world to the other is the night sky as it truly is. The sky your kind was born under, the sky before any other light existed to dim it. It is not black. That is the first thing. People who have never seen the true night sky imagine it black, but it is not. It is deep, and it is alive, and it is crowded. Stars beyond counting, beyond any possibility of counting, stand out of the depth in layer after layer. Bright ones burning steadily, faint ones trembling at the edge of sight. And behind the faint ones, fainter ones still, until the darkness itself seems made of dimmest silver, as though the sky were not a ceiling with lights hung on it, but a depth you could fall upward into forever. And across the middle of it all, from horizon to horizon, runs the great river. You know it well. Everyone here knows it. A broad, soft band of glowing cloud pouring across the height of the sky, brighter in some reaches and darker in others, with rifts and channels of shadow running through its light, like the currents of a real river seen from above. On a clear night like this one, it is bright enough to see by. Bright enough to cast the faintest of shadows. It is the largest single thing you have ever seen, or ever will. Your people have a name for it, and a story. Most peoples do. Some will call it a river where the dead cross over, or where the sky people fish. Some will call it a path, the path of birds, the path of souls, the road the ancestors walk. Some will see it as smoke from the first fire, still rising after all this time. Around fires like this one, all across the dark earth, people are looking up at this same great light and telling each other what it is, and every telling is a way of saying the same deeper thing, that the night sky is not strange to us, that we live inside it, and it is part of home. You watch it, and as you watch, you begin to see more. That is how the night sky works. It rewards stillness. At first you see only the brightest stars, the ones with names, the ones that mark the seasons. Then, as your eyes settle into the dark, the sky opens further, the way a quiet person opens to patient company. Star after star arrives out of the depth, places that were empty a moment ago now filling with faint light, and the longer you lie still, the deeper the sky becomes, until it feels less like looking up and more like floating, face down, over an endless bright water. Somewhere in the circle, a low voice is naming stars for a child who woke and would not settle. That one, the voice says, and a small arm rises against the sky, pointing. That one is the hunter, those, the sisters. That bright one there stands over the place where the sun will rise, and when it climbs high at dusk, the cold is coming, and when it falls away, the warm returns. The child repeats the names, softly, half into sleep already, and the names go down into them the way the stories went down, to stay for life. For this is the other thing, the sky is beyond its beauty. It is the great steady thing. Everything on earth changes. Water moves, grass dries, animals come and go. People are born and grow old and are laid in the ground. But the stars return every night, in their fixed patterns, in their slow, faithful wheel. The hunter always rises in his season. The sisters always keep together. The bright wanderers, the handful of stars that do move, move in slow, smooth paths that the patient eye can learn. Nothing in the sky is ever lost. To people whose whole world is change, that steadiness overhead is a deep and nightly comfort. The sky is the one country no flood can alter and no fire can touch, and every human who has ever lived has been able to lift their eyes and enter it. And they did lift their eyes, we can be sure of it. Long after these nights, the people who study the deep past found the proof of all this looking. They found the seasons of ancient camps matched to the risings of stars. They found old bones and stones marked with careful rows of signs that some believe kept count of the sky's slow changes. And they found, on the painted walls of deep caves, among the great animals, small clusters of dots that some readers of the walls take for the very star groups you are watching now. Not everyone agrees on what those marks mean. The deep past keeps some of its secrets, but on this there is no doubt at all. The people of these nights knew the sky the way you know a face. It was their calendar and their compass, their clock and their storybook, and they passed whole lifetimes of quiet evenings in its company. A star falls. It draws its bright, brief line down the eastern sky and is gone, so quickly that you are never sure, afterward, exactly where it began. Around the fire, one or two voices murmur. Someone makes the small sign your people make. A falling star means something here. Somewhere else it means something different. A soul traveling. A spark from the sky river. A door briefly open. It does not frighten anyone. It is part of the night's slow theater, like the wheeling of the great river, like the climb of the late stars out of the eastern hills, a show that has run every clear night since the beginning of nights, for an audience lying warm by their fires halfway into their dreams. Your eyes are heavy now, and the sky is doing what the sky does. It is very hard to watch the stars for long and stay entirely awake. The stillness of them, the depth of them, the slow, silent turning. The mind reaches up into all that quiet vastness and loosens, and the body, forgotten below, grows heavier and heavier in the grass. Your breathing has slowed to the rhythm of the fire's breathing. The voices around you have sunk to a murmur, then to almost nothing. The night river pours silently over the camp, over the shelters, over the dark lake, over the whole sleeping land, carrying its light on toward morning. You could sleep now. You are allowed. The sky does not need watching. It keeps itself faithfully, all night, every night, whether any eye attends it or not. And it will all be there tomorrow evening, every star in its place, the river in its course, the hunter in his season. Nothing overhead is ever lost, and nothing overhead is ever late. The fire ticks softly. The grass breathes its green, cool breath around you, and above the small, warm circle of your people, the enormous, gentle sky turns slowly westward, like a wheel in deep water, carrying the night along. The moon is rising now over the eastern hills, and someone in the circle is watching for her. You see the glow before you see the moon herself. The ridgeline sharpens against a growing silver light, the way it sharpens before dawn, but softer, cooler, without dawn's color. The stars nearest the east grow shy and step back, and then the rim of her comes up over the dark land, bright and slow, and swells, and lifts free, and the whole valley changes. The lake finds a second moon to hold. The grass turns grey and silver. Faint shadows lean away from every stone and every shelter, and the fire, which was the only light in the world, becomes one light of two. She is not full tonight. She is past the full, a little worn along one edge, the way she is worn a little more each night in this part of her long walk. And this, the slow, nightly changing of her face, is one of the first great puzzles every human being ever set their mind to. Watch the old one across the fire, the one who told the long story. He is looking at the moon the way you might look at a friend arriving, reading her shape with one practiced glance. He knows exactly what she will look like tomorrow and the night after. He knows how many nights until she thins away to nothing and the dark nights come, and how many nights after that until her young crescent steps back into the western dusk. He carries the whole slow pattern of her in his head, the way he carries the stories, because someone always has, for longer than anyone can say. The moon is the first clock. Before anything was planted, before anything was built, before anything at all was written, she was measuring out time across the sky in plain view of everyone, changing just enough each night to be counted, returning always to her beginning. The sun tells you the day, the stars tell you the season. But the moon tells you the month, and she was telling it to every band of humans on the dark earth, every night, for free, since before our kind was our kind. And some of those humans, it seems, wrote her down. Long after these nights, in the careful diggings of the people who study the deep past, small, strange objects began to appear. Pieces of bone and antler, smoothed by handling, and covered with rows of tiny, deliberate marks. Lines and pits and crescents, made not all at once, but over time, with different tools, at different sittings, as though someone had returned to the bone again and again, adding a mark, and another, keeping count of something. One such bone, found in the old country of France, in a shelter where people lived in the age of the great cold, carried a winding track of marks whose shapes seemed to change the way the moon changes. Rounds and crescents, waxing and waning down the length of it, and a patient scholar who studied it for years came to believe he was holding a record of the moon herself, notched night by night across 2 months and more, by hands that lived and died perhaps 30,000 years before writing was born anywhere in the world. If he was right, then think, gently, what that little bone would mean. Someone sat by a fire like this one, on nights like this one, and watched the moon rise, and took up their marked bone and their sharp stone, and pressed one more small sign into it. Not for food, not for warmth, for knowing, for the pure human satisfaction of holding the pattern, of catching great slow time in a net of little marks and keeping it in the hand. Now, it is only fair to say, softly, that not everyone who studied that bone agreed. Some looked at the same marks and were not so sure. Marks on old bone are hard to read across such a distance of time, and the deep past does not answer questions. It only offers what it offers and keeps its silence. Perhaps the marks were account of the moon. Perhaps they were account of something else, or a decoration, or a game, or a thing we have no name for at all. The truth is folded away in time, and we hold the bone and wonder. But this much needs no proof, because the sky itself is the proof. The moon was there every night, doing her slow, faithful arithmetic above every camp on earth. And human minds were there beneath her, minds exactly as quick and curious as yours, minds that tracked animals by a bent blade of grass, that held years of stories without losing a name, that knew every star of every season. To imagine such minds never noticed the moon keeping time, never counted her, never wondered, is harder to believe than any marked bone. The old one across the fire says something now, quietly, half to himself, half to the circle. Something about the moon and the fish, or the moon and the rains, some piece of the long knowledge, and heads nod, unsurprised. Here, her phases are simply woven into everything. When to walk at night and when to keep close, when the tides lay the shellfish bare, for people who know the shore. When the light will be good for travel, and when the dark nights come, the fire nights, the deep story nights. Her calendar is not written here, it is lived. You watch her clear the hills entirely, and take her place in the open sky. She is beautiful in a way that asks nothing. Her light lies gently over the whole valley now, silver on the reeds, silver on the still water, silver on the round backs of the shelters and the sleeping dogs. And where her light ends, at the fire's edge, the two glows meet and mingle, gold and silver, warm and cool, the two oldest lights of human nights, sharing the circle between them. Someone murmurs that the nets should go out when she thins. Someone else is already asleep and answers nothing. The fire settles. The moon climbs, slow as honey, patient as stone. And you lie in her doubled light, watching her face, the same face every human eye has ever watched, feeling time itself moving over you, slow and silver and kind, in no hurry at all to arrive at morning. Now, at last, the beds are being made, and yours is waiting for you. Around the circle, the night's slow turning has reached the hour of lying down. You can hear it happening, softly, all through the camp. The rustle of armfuls of dried grass being shaken loose and spread, the sigh of hides unrolled and settled, the low, brief words of people arranging themselves and their children for sleep, that quiet end-of-day language every human home has always had. Move over. Here is your place. There is room. Come and lie down. You rise from the fireside, and your body tells you, in its heavy, pleasant way, how ready it is. Your bed is in one of the shelters, just there, a few steps from the fire, where the warmth still reaches and the light comes in soft through the opening. And it is a better bed than the word might make you think. People imagine the deep past as a hard time of bare ground and shivering, but no creature on earth sleeps carelessly, and people least of all. Watch what has been laid down for you. First, the ground itself was chosen, long before tonight. Dry ground, raised a little, smooth of stones, sheltered from the wind that comes off the lake before dawn. Then, on the chosen ground, the bedding. Deep, sweet armfuls of soft, dried grasses laid thick and springy, so that the ground's hardness disappears beneath you. Over the grass, soft hides, worked and worked again, until they bend like heavy cloth, and through the bedding, if you breathe in, a fine, sharp green scent. Crushed leaves are scattered in the grass, leaves of particular bushes, chosen and gathered on purpose, because the grandmothers say, and the grandmothers are right, that their sharpness keeps the small biting things away from sleepers. We know, that is the wonder of it. We truly know, because beds like yours were found. Long after these nights, in a high cave in the south of Africa that people had returned to for ages upon ages, the studiers of the deep past dug down through the floor, layer below layer, year below year, deeper and deeper into time, and pressed into those layers, one above another like the pages of an unimaginable book, they found the beds. Sheet after thin sheet of ancient plant matter, grasses laid down by human hands, slept on, renewed, slept on again. The deepest of them, the oldest bed we have ever found, was made about 200,000 years ago. 200,000 years of people making the bed. The bed you are lying down on tonight has a history longer than our kind's memory of itself. And those old beds held secrets that would make the grandmothers here nod without surprise. In another cave, on a river cliff not far off in that same green country, the ancient bedding was layered with the leaves of a particular tree, a wild kind of quince laurel. And when the studiers looked closely at those leaves, they found in them the very oils that drive away biting insects. The sleepers of that cave, 70 and more thousand years ago, had chosen those leaves on purpose, for exactly the reason the crushed leaves are scattered in your bedding tonight, and more. Beneath many of the ancient beds lay a clean layer of ash. The old sleepers had burned the used bedding when its time was done, and spread the ash smooth, and laid the fresh grass over it, because ash keeps the crawling things away, and because a burned floor is a clean floor. They kept house. They freshened the bedding. They cared, exactly as your people care, that the sleeping place be soft and clean and sweet to lie in. So lie down now, into all that long care. You lower yourself onto the grass bed, and it receives you the way deep grass receives you, with a soft crush and give, molding to your shoulder and hip, holding you an easy hand's breadth above the cool of the earth. You pull the sleeping hide over yourself, and it settles onto you with its familiar weight, that particular gentle heaviness that tells the body, in a language older than words, that it is covered now and kept, and may stop holding itself. The smell of the bed is all around you, dry grass, sweet and dusty like late summer, the green sharpness of the scattered leaves, the deep animal softness of the hide, and wood smoke through everything, because wood smoke is through everything here, always, the signature of home. It is a smell no one alive today has ever smelled in quite this way, and yet something in you knows it, something in every human knows it. It is the smell of the original bedroom, the one all bedrooms remember. Through the opening of the shelter, you can see the fire, burned down now to a low, steady, banked glow, and beyond its light, a strip of the Star River, and the moon silver on the edge of the reeds. Near you, in the shelter's soft darkness, the others of your hearth are settling. You hear the grass sigh under them as they turn and find their places. A child murmurs, is answered in a whisper, and goes quiet. Someone's breathing, close by, is already slowing into the long, easy rhythm of the first descent. The bed holds you, the hide warms above you, and the warmth is your own, given back. You think, in a loose and drifting way, of all the beds beneath this bed, the grass on grass on ash, going down through the floors of the world, 200,000 years of people lying down at the end of the day, every one of them tired the way you are tired. Every one of them finding the soft place, pulling the cover close, hearing the breathing of their people beside them, watching some low fires glow. An unbroken river of sleepers, flowing down from the deepest past into this night, into this bed, into you. Your eyes close, the grass settles its last small settlings beneath you. And somewhere out at the fire, unhurried, faithful, the one who keeps the first part of the night, lays a fresh branch on the coals, and the light through the shelter opening breathes gently brighter and begins its long watch over your sleep. Sleep is coming for you now, and there is nothing you need to do to meet it. This is the hour. The fire has been banked to its long, low burning. The camp has finished its rustlings and settlings. The moon has climbed away from the hills and hangs high and small and bright, and the air has found its night coolness, that soft, clean chill that makes the warmth of the hide over you feel like a kindness renewed every moment. All across the camp, in every shelter, your people are lying as you are lying, warm under their covers in the cool air, drifting down. And here is a gentle thing worth knowing about this drifting, a thing learned long after these nights, when curious people went to live beside the last of the old-style camps left in the world, and watched, with patient instruments, how human beings sleep when they sleep, as they always slept. They expected, those watchers, to find people dropping into sleep the moment darkness fell, and sleeping vast long hours, far longer than people of the crowded bright world sleep. That was the story everyone believed, that the old way of sleeping was longer, and that the modern world had stolen sleep from everyone. But that is not what they found. What they found was this: when the sun went down, nobody slept. The fires were lit, and the good hours began. The eating and the talk and the stories, the very hours you have just lived through, and they lasted a long while, 3 hours and more past sunset, warm and social and calm. Sleep came when the night's coolness deepened, exactly as it is coming for you now, not at a moment chosen by the light, but at the moment the cooling air and the tired body agree upon together. And the sleep itself was not enormously long. It was ordinary and sound, and it ended of itself near dawn. The people of the old way slept, in truth, about as much as people ever have. The night was never only for sleeping. It was for the fire first, and the circle first. Sleep took its share, and the fire took its share, and both were honored. So you have kept the old schedule perfectly tonight, without trying. The fire had its hours, now sleep will have its own. Feel how it begins. It begins in the body's weight. Lying here in the deep grass bed, you seem to grow heavier with each breath, as though the day's lightness were draining slowly out through your back into the welcoming ground. Your legs are heavy now past any wish to move them. Your arms lie where they lie and are content. Your hands, half curled, have let go of their last small holdings. Even your face is heavy, in the pleasant way, the eyelids resting closed with a weight like warm coins, the jaw loose, the brow smooth. Sounds are changing next. That is the second door. You can still hear the night, the low crumple and tick of the banked fire, the breathing of your hearthmates, each rhythm known to you, each in its own slow time. A shift of wind in the reeds, the smallest lap of the lake against its shore. But the sounds are moving away from you now, or you from them. They come as though through soft cloth, rounded, blurred at their edges, and between them the silences are growing longer and deeper and kinder. Thoughts are the last to go, and they go strangely and sweetly. You are thinking of the fish drying on the racks, and then, without any bridge, you are thinking of the Star River, and the thought of the Star River becomes, somehow, the long story. The ancestor running with fire in a hollow reed, and none of this surprises you, because the mind at the edge of sleep is a fireside where all the stories mingle. Images arrive on their own now. A face, a hillside in summer, water shining. They are not memories exactly, and not dreams yet. They are the mind unbraiding itself, strand by strand, laying itself down as the body was laid down, into softness, into the dark. Long after these nights, people learned that human sleep comes in slow, deep waves, and that the deepest waves of all come here, at the front of the night, in this first descent. The body does its truest mending now. The day's small wears and hurts are visited and repaired. Warmth is gathered and banked in the core, like the fire's own banking, to burn low and steady until morning. Whatever else the night brings, this first sleep will have done its great quiet work, and it asks nothing of you at all. You could not help it if you tried, and you could not hinder it either. It is as sure as the tide. The fire ticks, far away now. Somewhere at the very rim of your hearing, the night keeper shifts and settles by the coals, and the small sound is the last thread connecting you, and it is a good last thread. It says the light is kept. It says the circle holds. It says that you may go now, all the way down, because the surface of the night is watched, and nothing is required of you until the sun. You take one deeper breath, and release it very slowly. The grass bed holds you like still water. The hide's warmth has become your own warmth, one warmth, indivisible. The moon's thin silver lies across the foot of the sleeping place, moving so slowly it will take all night to cross you. And between one soft breath and the next, without a border, without a moment you could ever point to, you are asleep. The camp breathes around you. The fire glows. The great sky wheels westward, star by star. First sleep, the old deep first sleep, has taken you, as it took every human of every night, down into the quiet where the body heals and the day dissolves, and the night, faithful and enormous and gentle, goes on without you. You wake in the dark, and it is not a mistake. The fire has burned low beside you. The moon has moved. By her new place in the sky you can feel, without any thinking, that a good, deep piece of the night has passed. The camp is quiet in the special way of the middle hours, and you are awake, not startled awake, not troubled awake, simply awake. Risen to the surface of the night like a leaf rising in still water, softly, for no reason, in the middle of the dark. Do not be concerned. Nothing has gone wrong. This waking is one of the oldest parts of human sleep, and in the world of the fires it has a place of honor and even a name. Long after these nights, a patient scholar spent years reading the letters and books and records of centuries past, and he began to notice something strange, mentioned everywhere, explained nowhere, because everyone once knew it too well to explain. People spoke of their first sleep as a matter of course, and after the first sleep, they spoke of a waking, an hour or more of quiet wakefulness in the deep middle of the night, and after it, a second sleep that carried them to morning. 2 sleeps, with a soft valley of waking between them. No one complained of the valley, no one feared it. It was simply the shape of the night, as the 2 banks are the shape of a river. In the valley they lay warm, and thought, and prayed, and talked low with the one beside them, and tended the fire, and drifted back down when the drifting came. The bright modern world, with its lamps that abolished evening and its clocks that ruled the morning, pressed the 2 old sleeps together into one, and forgot the valley entirely. And ever after, when its people woke in the middle of the night, as people always had, they thought something was broken in them, and lay worrying in the dark, but nothing was broken. It was only the old night, the true night, keeping its ancient shape beneath the new one. The waking they feared was the waking you are having now, and it was never an enemy. It was a room in the house of the night, and once everyone knew how to live in it. So live in it now. There is nothing you must do here. That is the first law of the watch. This waking asks nothing. Lie still, and let the night introduce itself. The shelter around you is a soft darkness with a shape you know blind. The breathing of your people threads the quiet, each sleeper in their own rhythm, deep and slow, and the child nearest you sighs and turns over in the grass with a sound like a small wave, and settles again. Through the opening, the world is silver and black. The moon has crossed to the west of the sky. The star river has wheeled with her, whole star pictures gone down behind the hills, and new ones risen that were below the world when you closed your eyes. The night has been busy while you slept, in its enormous silent way, and it lets you see its work, and asks for nothing. The fire is low, and this is a good moment to serve it. You rise easily, quietly, wrapping the hide around your shoulders, and step the few soft steps to the hearth. The coals are alive under their grey coat. You can feel their banked heat on your shins as you crouch. You take 2 branches from the wood pile that was laid ready at dusk, because it is always laid ready at dusk, and set them across the glow, and wait. And presently a little flame stands up between them, quiet and yellow, and the light strengthens around you by one gentle degree. Warmth climbs into your hands. The smoke lifts its thin thread straight into the still air, up toward the stars. This small act, the midnight tending, has been performed beyond all counting. Somewhere in every camp, on every night, in every age of the fires, someone rose in the valley between the sleeps and did exactly this. It may be the most repeated ceremony in the whole human story. No one recorded it, no one needed to. The fire itself was the record, alive in the morning, proof that hands had loved it in the dark. You stay by the flame a while, since there is nowhere to hurry to. Thoughts come in the watch, and they come differently than day thoughts. The day's thinking is all edges and errands. But the mind in the middle of the night is like the lake at this hour, still and deep and holding the stars. Things sort themselves gently, without being sorted. A memory surfaces, is regarded, sinks again content. Tomorrow arranges itself loosely and without worry, since tomorrow is far away, on the other side of the second sleep, beyond the hills of dawn. The old ones say the best counsel comes at the fire in the deep night, and looking into the little flame, you understand them. Nothing seems as heavy here as it seemed in the light. The night takes the weight of things and holds it for you, the way water holds a swimmer. Across the camp, Near another shelter, an ember snaps, and you see, without surprise, a shape sitting wakeful by the far hearth, another one risen in the valley. You do not call out. They do not either. There is only the smallest movement, a hand lifted, answered. 2 watchers, 2 fires, the sleeping camp between them, and the whole silver night around it all. Then they turn back to their coals, and you to yours. The cool is beginning to reach you through the hide now, gently, and the flame has taken good hold of the branches, and your eyes are growing heavy again, in the pleasant way, the way of the second descent. The valley of the watch is ending as it began, without a border, without a bell. Sleep is rising back toward you like warmth from the coals. You bank the fire's new strength with a practiced nudge, and rise, and walk the few soft steps back, and fold yourself down into the grass bed's waiting shape, still warm from you, welcoming you back like something faithful. The hide settles. The child near you breathes its small, even breaths. The fire, fed, glows stronger through the opening, painting its faint gold on the shelter's inner dark. You were awake, and it was good, and now you will sleep again, and that will be good too. The old night keeps its old shape. First sleep, the watch, second sleep, a river, a valley, a river, and you go down again, easily, carried. But here is a quiet question, floating up as you drift. If everyone sleeps, who keeps the camp? And here is the quiet answer, one of the loveliest secrets of the human night. Everyone does, and no one has to try. Listen to the camp around you, sunk now in the deep middle hours. It sounds like total sleep, a whole people gone down together into the dark. But it is not, and it never is. At this moment, in this camp, someone is lying awake, comfortable, unworried, simply awake, as you were a little while ago. In an hour, it will be someone else. Before dawn it will have been a young hunter, and a grandmother, and a light sleeping mother, and the old man whose sleep comes in short pieces now, each of them surfacing in their own time, each of them, without knowing it, standing a watch. Long after these nights, the people who study sleep went out to one of the last camps in the world that still slept the old way, in the dry golden country of the east of Africa, and they asked a simple, wonderful question. In a whole camp of sleepers, across whole nights, how often is everyone asleep at once? They fitted gentle instruments to the wrists of a few dozen people and watched the nights go by. 20 nights, more than 200 hours of darkness. And in all those hours, the moments when every single person lay asleep at the same time added up to 18 minutes. 18 minutes out of 20 nights. For all the rest, at every hour of every night, at least one pair of eyes in the sleeping camp was open, usually many more. On average, through the whole deep of the night, a third of the camp was lightly surfaced or waking at any given moment, rising and sinking in their own rhythms, overlapping, handing the night from one to another like a bowl passed around a circle, without a word, without a plan, without a single person ever being appointed to guard anything. The watchers called it the sentinel pattern, and they saw at once how deep it must go. The old ones sleep light and wake early, and the young sleep late and deep, and every body has its own hour of rising and falling, and all these differences, which the bright world calls problems, mesh together in a camp like the fingers of two folded hands. The lightness of the grandmother covers the deep sleep of the child. The late drowsing of the young hunter covers the early waking of the old man. No one is ever alone in the dark, because everyone is differently asleep. A band of people, simply by lying down together and being human, weaves a net of open eyes that holds all night long. Perhaps this is even why the ages of sleep are so different, why the old wake so early and the young lie so long. The differences make the net. A camp of every age is a camp with no unguarded hour. The family, sleeping, protects itself by the very shape of its sleeping. Feel what that means here tonight for you. It means the safety you have felt since you first lay down is not a hope. It is an arrangement older than memory, and it is working at this moment all around you. While you were deep in first sleep, others were near the surface, holding the camp in the corner of their waking. When you rose for your watch and fed the fire, you were holding it for them, though you thought you were only warming your hands. Now you are sinking again, and somewhere in the dark of another shelter, someone else is drifting upward to take the night from you, and they do not know it either. And it does not matter that they do not know. The net does not need to be seen to hold. And at the center of the net, always the fire. The fire is the sentinel that never sleeps at all. Its light stands steady at the middle of the camp, hour upon hour, and its meaning shines out into the dark in every direction, plain to every creature that sees it. Here are people, the light says, calmly, all night long. Here is the place that is claimed and kept. The animals of the night read that light from far away and honor it and pass around it, and the camp inside it sleeps in the one safe circle in all the wide dark, safe not by walls, for there are no walls, but by light and by the woven watchfulness of people who love each other, which is the oldest wall there is. Some nights, in some seasons, the keeping is more deliberate. When the band travels through strange country, when the great animals are moving, the strong ones will share the dark on purpose, one sitting wakeful while the others sleep, then waking another with a touch to take the coals and the quiet. But most nights, ordinary nights, nights like this one, no such arrangement is ever needed. The old pattern keeps itself. The sleepers rise and sink like slow waves. The open eyes pass around the circle. The fire burns, and the night is held from dusk to dawn without a single order given. You are deep in the drifting now, and this last knowledge goes down with you like a warm stone wrapped in cloth. You are watched over. Not by one appointed guard, grim in the dark, but by the whole soft, breathing body of your people, keeping you the way the grass keeps the ground, everywhere, gently, without effort. Their sleep is your safety, and your sleep is theirs. It has been this way since fires began. It is this way tonight. The child beside you breathes. The fire holds its low gold. Far off, the lake lies still under the sinking moon, and in the shelters all around, the sentinels of the sleeping camp rise and fall on their slow tides, eyes opening here, closing there. All night, every night, an unbroken human vigil so old and so tender that no one has ever had to name it to keep it. Sleep now, all the way down. The watch is set. The watch was always set. You have never once, in all your life, slept unguarded. While you sleep, the night is singing, and part of you is listening. That is a thing about human sleep worth knowing, and a comforting one. The ears never close. All night long, softly, without waking you, they gather the sounds of the dark and carry them down to the sleeping mind, and the sleeping mind, wise and ancient, sorts them. This sound is known, it says, and lets you sleep on. That sound is known, it says, and lets you sleep on. Only for the truly strange would it ever wake you. And on a night like this, in the heart of your own country, there is nothing strange abroad at all. Only the old choir, singing the verses it has sung forever. So let us listen together, from inside your sleep, to what the night is made of. Nearest of all, there is the fire, and the fire's voice never stops. It ticks, it settles. It gives a small papery collapse as a burned branch folds into the coals, and a soft flare after, and then the long, fine whisper of heat itself, almost below hearing, the sound of warmth being faithful. Whoever sleeps by a fire learns its language in the first year of life and never forgets it. Even now, deep under, if the fire's voice changed, you would know. It does not change. It murmurs on, contented, saying the one thing it says all night. Still here, still warm, still yours. Around the fire's voice, the breathing. The whole camp is breathing, and the breathing is a weather, a soft tide moving through the shelters. Slow, deep rhythms overlapping, the quick, lighter breath of children. A sigh here as a sleeper turns, a murmured half-word there from inside someone's dream, answered by no one, needing no answer. Now and then a snore rises briefly above the tide and subsides. It is the sound a safe camp makes, and no other sound on earth is quite like it. Many sleepers, one rest. Then, beyond the shelters, the insect choir. They have been singing since dusk, and will sing till the cold hour before dawn. Thousands upon thousands of tiny musicians in the grass and the reeds, each species with its own note, all woven into one vast, soft shimmer of sound that lies over the land like another kind of moonlight. You do not hear them, exactly, any more than you hear your own blood. They are the floor of the night, the silence's own texture. If they stopped all at once, the whole camp would surface in a heartbeat, every sleeper asking the dark what had happened. They do not stop. They pulse, slow and endless, rising a little, falling a little, the heartbeat of the summer dark. Over the choir, solo voices, each in its appointed hour. A night bird calls from the reeds, a low round three-note phrase, repeated at long lazy intervals, a bird talking to itself in the dark for its own bird reasons. Far across the water, another of its kind answers, thin with distance. An owl passes somewhere above the camp on wings that make no sound at all, and marks its passage with one soft downward cry. In the drowned grass at the lake's edge, the frogs keep their gulping chorus, swelling and lulling. And once, from very far away, from the hills at the edge of hearing, comes the long wavering call of some larger creature of the night going about its distant business, a sound with wildness in it, and the sleeping camp hears it and reads it and finds it exactly where it should be, which is far away, and sleeps on without a ripple. The water adds its own slow line. The lake at night is never wholly still. It breathes against its shore, small laps and settles, and when the night wind moves, the reeds answer in long, soft phrases, a hushing, a sound so like the sound a mother makes over a restless child that you wonder, in the drifting way of sleep thoughts, which came first, and whether every human hush is only the reeds remembered. And beneath everything, below all the voices, there is the great quiet itself. This is the sound the modern world lost and does not know it mourns. The deep floor of true silence under the night singing. No hum, no roar, no engine anywhere on the whole dark earth. Between the fire's tick and the bird's call, there are moments when the quiet comes through entire, vast and soft and wholly unafraid. The quiet of a world that is only itself, and the sleeping mind rests in those moments the way the eye rests on deep water. Your own ear, we said, is keeping its gentle watch, and so it is. But understand what a watch it is. It is not fear, listening. It is knowledge, listening. Every sound of this night is a known sound, learned in childhood, confirmed 10,000 times. The people of the fires knew their nights the way you know your own room in the dark. They could name every singer of the choir, tell every rustle from every other, hear rain coming in the change of the wind, hear the season turning in which frogs sang and which had gone quiet. The night was not a wall of dread to them. It was a country, mapped in sound, and they lived in it as natives and slept in it as the safest of citizens. A little wind moves through now, and the whole soundscape sways with it, reeds and grass and leaves all hushing together, the fire brightening a note, and then the wind passes on across the lake, and the choir settles back to its long pulse. Inside your sleep, all of it reaches you as one braided murmuring, endless, familiar, kind. The night is singing, the oldest lullaby there is, the one it composed before there were any ears to hear it, and your kind was born inside that lullaby, and has slept inside it since the beginning. Sleep on. The choir holds every note in place. The dark is not silent, and it never was. It is a song, and you are safe in the middle of it. Far beyond the firelight, out where the night belongs to itself, the great animals are moving. And here, from the warmth of your bed, with the fire standing its faithful guard, you may think of them calmly, even fondly, the way sleepers in a strong house think of rain on the roof. For this is their hour, and it always was. The night of the deep past was a lordly place. Out in the grasslands beyond the lake, in the dark hills, along the far shore, creatures walk tonight that later ages will know only as legends and as bones. Great cats larger than any that will come after, hyenas heavy as the cats, traveling in loose clans, laughing their strange laughs to one another under the moon. Wild cattle with horns like the young moon, herds of horses drifting like cloud shadow. And in some countries, in some ages, vaster shapes still, shoulder-humped, long-haired, tusked, moving through the dark with a tread you would feel in the ground before you ever heard it. The people of the fires shared their whole world with these neighbors, and shared the night with them most of all. And yet, and here is the wonder we are resting inside tonight, the people slept every night, softly, deeply, all their lives. How? The first answer stands burning a few steps from your bed. Fire changed the night forever, and nothing in the dark ever misread it. To every animal that moves out there, without exception, the meaning of that steady light is old knowledge, settled long ago. Light means burning. Burning is the one thing that will not be argued with. And so, around every human fire, from the very first fire onward, there lies an invisible circle, wide and absolute, that the great animals simply do not cross. They see the glow from far off, and their paths bend, smooth as water bending around a stone, and pass on into the dark on the far side. No wall was ever built in the deep past, because no wall was ever needed. The wall was made of light, rebuilt every evening with an armful of wood, and it never once, in 100,000 years of nights, needed mending. The second answer is sleeping all around you, numbers and the woven watch. A band of people together, breathing together, with their fire, is not prey. The animals of the night are old and practical, and their business is the easy meal, the stray, the solitary. A firelit camp, full of the sentinel pattern, where some pair of eyes is always lifted, is the least easy thing in the whole dark world, and the night's hunters concluded so before memory began, and removed it from their thinking, and have never in all the ages put it back. And the third answer is the oldest and the strangest and the gentlest of all. To the great animals, your kind is trouble by day. The animals of this world have watched people for as long as there have been people. The clever upright ones who move in bands, who throw things that bite from far away, who never forget and never quite give up. The night's lords are wise in the way long survival makes creatures wise, and their wisdom on this point is settled and unanimous. The two-legged ones and their fire are to be left entirely alone. So listen, from inside your sleep, to what the far dark actually brings you tonight. There, faint, at the very floor of hearing, from the hills beyond the lake. A deep, swelling call, rolling out over the dark land, and after it, farther still, an answer. The great cats are speaking to one another across their hunting grounds, saying whatever it is they say, "Here I am, this ground is mine, where are you?" The sound carries for enormous distances in the cool night air, which is the only reason it reaches you at all. They are far away, about their own affairs, in their own country, under the same moon. The sound rolls over the sleeping camp like far thunder that promises no storm, and the camp, hearing it, does not even stir. The grandmother nearest the fire surfaces for a moment, as her light sleep surfaces her, notes the direction and the distance with 50 years of skill she does not need to summon, finds it all exactly as it should be, and sinks back down before the echo dies. That is the whole of it. That is what the fearsome night amounts to, in a camp of the fires, a far call, noted and released. A distant laughing yelp from the hyena clans away on the plain, passing along their own paths, minding their own hungers. Once, perhaps, the soft, heavy tread of something vast in the far reed beds, drinking at its own hour at its own end of the lake, as its kind and your kind have both done, at opposite ends, in unspoken agreement, for 10,000 years. The night is enormous, and everything in it has its place, and every place is honored. The animals keep the dark, and the people keep the light, and between them lies the old truce, older than your people's oldest story, renewed without words every single night, tonight included, by the simple, faithful burning of the fire. Feel, now, how this knowledge sits in the body, not as fear, as the very opposite. The far call of the great cat does not trouble the sleeping camp. It deepens its sleep, the way the sound of rain deepens sleep under a good roof. For the wildness out there is the measure of the safety in here. Every distant voice of the night says the same two things at once. The world is vast and alive and untamed. And you, small and warm in the middle of it, are held apart from all of it, ringed in light, woven in watchfulness, twice guarded and long forgotten by everything that hunts. No creature in all the dark is thinking of you tonight. You may be sure of it. To the lords of the night the camp is only that steady golden star on the lakeshore, known forever, avoided forever, marked on every path of every creature of the plain as the one place that is not theirs and never will be. The far call comes once more, farther now, moving away along the hills. The fire answers with its small contented tick. And you, deep in the old truce, deep in the ring of light, sleep on, guarded like a coal in ash, while the great animals walk their distant rounds all night, and never once turn their faces toward the small golden star that is you. And now the night gives you its second gift, the one the old world knew and treasured. Second sleep. The valley of the watch lies behind you. The middle deep of the night lies behind you. What remains, from here to the bird song, is the long, sweet lap of darkness the people of the fires would have called the morning sleep and knew for the tenderest rest of all. If first sleep is the deep diver, doing the body's heavy mending in the front of the night, second sleep is the slow swimmer, easy in warm water, drifting toward a far bright shore, in no hurry whatsoever to reach it. Everything about the night has softened for it. The air is at its coolest now, the deep, still cool of the small hours, and against that cool the warmth of your bed has ripened into something perfect. Hours of your own sleeping heat are banked in the grass and the hide, and you lie in the middle of that gathered warmth like the coal in the middle of the banked fire, glowing without flame. The camp is at its quietest. Even the insect choir has thinned, verse by verse, singer by singer, as the cold hour hushes them. The moon is low in the west now, her silver stretched long across the water, and the fire, twice fed through the night by the risers of the watch, has settled into its final steady glow, ample for the hours that remain. And your sleep, here in the morning half of the night, changes its very nature, and changes it kindly. The deep dives are done. The body's hard mending was finished in the front of the night, paid in full, and what sleep does now is lighter, gentler, stranger, and lovelier. It rises and falls in long, slow swells. It carries more dreams, and holds them longer, and lets them grow wide. This is the shore where the night's dreaming mostly lives, here in the hours before dawn, and you can feel their country assembling itself somewhere just below you, warm and lit and waiting, as the swells carry you down toward it. Long after these nights, the watchers of sleep found this rhythm in every human they ever watched. Deep sleep loads the front of the night, dreaming loads the back. And they found something else, something the people of this camp know in their bones without ever needing to find it. That the body times its deepest rest to the land's own cooling, riding down with the falling night air, and turns toward waking only when the cold touches bottom in the hour before dawn, and the first faint warmth returns. Sleep, in the old world, was not fenced by hours. It lay along the night's own temperature like a sleeper along a hollow, fitted, natural, exact. You are fitted so now. The coolest hour is settling over the camp, and you are riding it down, warm inside your gathered warmth, deeper into the softest part of the whole night's rest. Drift, then. There is nothing left to be done, and there was never much. The night has kept every promise it made you at dusk. The meal was shared, and it fed you. The stories were told, and they are in you now, gone down into the deep places where stories live. The stars wheeled, and are wheeling still, faithfully, over the shelter, over the smoke, over the whole silver country of your sleep. The watch was stood, by you and by others, and is being stood at this moment by someone warm and unworried at the far fire, and will be handed on, eye to eye, until the sun takes it. The great animals called from their far hills, and honored the old truce, and passed by. Every thread of the night has held. Every thread was always going to hold. The swells lift you and lower you, lift you and lower you. Each rise is briefer now, each settling deeper. Sounds have gone very far away. The fire's tick, the low lap of the lake, the breathing of your people, all of it distant and golden and mingled, less like hearing than like remembering. The bed has no edges anymore. The warmth has no source anymore. It is simply the world, and the world is warm, and you are dissolved in it, like the moon's light in the water, spread soft across the surface of something deep and utterly calm. Down you go, one more slow swell. Second sleep closes over you, silky and complete, the sleep your kind perfected across 100,000 mornings before morning had a name. Somewhere far above, at the rim of the world, the sky knows already what the camp does not, that the east is thinking its first grey thought. But that is far off yet, and none of yours. Between you and the light lie hours still, whole, warm, unhurried hours, and the dreams are gathering to fill them, and the fire will hold, and the watch will hold, and the truce will hold. Sleep, sleeper, the night is old now, and it is gentle as old things are, and it has carried 1,000 generations to this same soft shore, and never once dropped a single one. It will not drop you. Down, and softly down, into the morning sleep, with the whole camp breathing around you, one breath, one warmth, one rest. And now, in the long, soft hours of second sleep, you cross into the other country, the country of dreams. It has no border you can feel. One moment you are drifting in the dark warmth of the bed, and the next you are elsewhere, walking a summer hillside you half know, and the light there is the deep gold of a remembered evening, and someone is with you whose face keeps gently changing, and none of it surprises you at all. That is how the country works. Its laws are not the day's laws, and yet inside it everything is accepted. Everything makes its own soft sense. Water may flow uphill there. The dead may sit at the fire again, well and smiling. You may rise off the ground and swim slow strokes through the air over the reeds, and your dream heart lifts, but does not startle. The country of dreams keeps its gates open all night, every night, for every sleeper who has ever lived, and no one in all the history of the world has ever failed to find the way in. Around you in the shelter, in the real and breathing dark, everyone is traveling now. The child beside you is dreaming. You can see it if you could watch, the small flickers under the closed lids, the tiny sounds, half words from inside some bright small adventure. The old ones are dreaming, further and stranger, in that country where their long lives give them so much land to walk. The hunter dreams of the herds, moving in numbers past counting under a sky of dream light, and his legs twitch faintly with the running. Even the dogs at the fire's edge are dreaming, paws stirring, chasing something through fields on the other side of sleep. The whole camp, so still to look at, is in truth wonderfully busy, everyone away, in the other country at once, each on their own path, and all of them due back safely by morning. Now, in the morning, when the camp wakes and gathers at the freshened fire, the dreams will be told. That is the custom here, as it will be the custom around fires and tables for the rest of the human story. The night's travels are shared like food. Someone dreamed of the dead grandmother, and she was strong and laughing, and the circle nods, warmed, because a visit is a visit. Someone dreamed the fish were thick at the reed bank, and perhaps the nets will go there, for who is to say the dream was not a kindness, a scouting of the generous world on the sleeper's behalf? Someone dreamed nonsense, pure bright nonsense, and tells it, and the circle laughs, and the nonsense becomes a small joy of the day. What did the people of the deep past believe their dreams to be? Softly now, for no one can fully know, the deep past keeps its inner life closest of all. But we can stand at the edge of it and see the shapes, for a dream feels like a journey, and the simplest, oldest, most human reading is the honest one. That something in the sleeper truly travels. That there is a part of a person, call it the breath, the shadow, the spirit. The name differs by fireside, that is not nailed to the body as the flesh is, and that in sleep it slips its knot and goes wandering, and its wanderings are the dream. Peoples the wide world over, wherever the fires burned, came to some form of this belief, so many and so far apart that it may be among the oldest ideas our kind has ever had. Those who study the deep story of belief, tracing it back down the branching generations the way one traces a river to its springs, find this at the very source. Before the gods, before the temples, before all the vast architecture of faith, there is this simple firelit conviction that the world is alive and full of spirit, and that the sleeping soul walks in it and comes home wiser. And see how gently that belief holds a sleeping camp. If dreams are journeys, then the dead are not wholly gone, for they can be visited, and they visit. Grief, in the country of dreams, is given a door left ajar. If dreams are journeys, then the sleeper is not lying idle in the dark, but ranging wide, gathering, learning, meeting. The night is not lost time. It is a second life, running alongside the first, and every human being is rich with it, the poorest and the plainest as rich as any, for the country of dreams levies nothing and turns no one away. Your own dream has changed now, as dreams do, without a seam. The summer hillside has become the lake, but the lake as the dream would have it, wider, brighter, the water warm as the air, and you are gliding over your own reflection through drifting stars, for in the country of dreams the star river has come down to lie upon the water, and no part of you finds this strange. Somewhere a voice you love is telling the long story, and the story is about you now, kindly, and the words turn into slow silver fish that swim down out of hearing, and you follow them, unhurried, deeper into the warm, bright water of the night. Let the dream carry you where it will. It means you well. Whatever faces rise in it are faces come visiting. Whatever countries unfold in it are countries you are welcome in. And should it ever drift somewhere shadowed, as dreams now and then must, remember, even from inside it, what every child of the fires is taught, that the dreamer always wakes, that the door home stands open all night at your back, that the body lies the whole time safe as a stone in the ring of light, watched by the sentinels, warmed by the fire, breathed around by its own people, waiting faithfully for the traveler's return. The camp dreams on, all its journeys running silently side by side in the dark. And the night holds every traveler, and the fire holds the night, and morning, patient morning, holds the welcome, hours away yet, at the end of the bright water. Swim slowly, there is no far shore you need to reach. The whole warm country is yours till dawn. Some nights, though, are not dark at all, and it is worth drifting for a while through one of those. Let the dream carry you there now, backward through the month, to a night not long past, the night of the full moon. For the full moon's night, in the world of the fires, is a different night entirely, a holiday of light that comes round faithfully with her great pale face, and everything about the dark changes when she keeps it. She rises at sunset on her full night. That is her old arrangement, coming up over the eastern hills exactly as the sun goes down behind the western ones. The two great lights passing the world between them like a bowl passed hand to hand. And she rises enormous, swollen and golden at the horizon's edge, so large that the children point and call out, and then she climbs, and pales to silver, and grows small and hard and brilliant, and by full dark the whole country lies changed beneath her. You could walk anywhere on such a night, and the people did. That is the moon's great gift to the world of the fires, and it is a gift the bright modern world, with light spilling from every window, can no longer even perceive. Moonlight is the difference between a night that is a wall and a night that is a road. Under the full moon the land lies open to the horizon, silver and grey and legible, every path visible, every shape declaring itself. The lake is a sheet of hammered light. The hills stand clear against the sky. A person can travel on such a night safely and far, and so on such nights people travelled and visited and fished the bright water and sat up late outside the shelters, unwilling to spend the silver hours asleep. Long after these nights, the watchers of sleep found the moon's fingerprints still pressed into the human night. They watched sleepers in villages without any lamps at all, and found that as the full moon approached, the people stayed up later and slept a little less, exactly as if the light itself invited them, and that even in bright cities, where no one could say what the moon was doing, some faint tide of the old rhythm seemed to linger in the nights of sleepers who had never once needed the moon for anything, as though the body remembered, in its deep tides, 100,000 years of silver evenings, and still turned toward her fullness like water. And so the moon's month gave the old night its gentle shape, its slow breathing of bright and dark. The nights of her fullness were the open nights, the social nights, late and silver and mild. Then night by night she rose later and waned thinner, and the dark hours before her rising deepened, and the people drew in earlier to the fires, and those were the story nights, the deep hearth nights, when the dark pressed close and the circle pressed closer, and the long tales were told, until at last came the nights of no moon at all, the deep dark of the month, when the star river blazed at its uttermost, and the fire was the only gold in all the world. And then, on the third evening, low in the western dusk, the young crescent stepped out thin as a nail paring, and the children saw her first and called out, and the whole slow month began again. Dark nights for the fire and the stories, bright nights for the paths and the water. The moon dealt them out in her endless patient rotation, and the people received them and planned by them, and lived inside her rhythm so completely that they could no more have ignored her than ignored the seasons. She was the night's own calendar, posted in the sky, readable by every eye from every camp on earth at once. In your dream of the full moon night, you are outside the shelters, and the camp is awake around you in the silver. No one wants to sleep yet, and no one needs to. The children are playing some running game among the long moon shadows of the shelters, their laughter bright and small in the enormous mild night. The elders sit against the warm side of the rocks, talking low, their faces clear to one another in the pale light. Down at the shore, two figures stand in the shallows with a net, and the drops fall from the lifted mesh like falling stars, and the wet net flashes, and out on the silver water the ripples of their work spread in slow rings of light. The fire burns small tonight, almost idle, outshone, resting from its usual duties, for the moon has taken the watch, and her circle of safety is as wide as the whole visible world. You tip your head back, in the dream, and look at her directly, her calm, marked face that is the one face every human of every age has known. The people of the fires saw pictures in her marks, as all people would after them. A hare, a woman with a burden, a face, mild and a little sad, watching the world with the patience of stone. They told stories of her, why she wanes, why she returns, and the stories differed from fireside to fireside across the dark earth. But beneath every story lay the same sure knowledge, proven every month since time out of mind, that she always comes back, that her dying is never a death, that the darkest nights of her absence are simply the world holding its breath, and the breath is always released, and the thin silver always steps out again into the western dusk, right on time, young and new and faithful. Of all the night's lessons, that may be the gentlest one, and you may keep it as you drift. Everything in the old night returns, the stars to their seasons, the moon to her fullness, the fire to flame each evening, the sleeper to the morning. Nothing loved is lost in the dark. It is only walking its path, as the moon walks hers, round and round the great year, and every path in the whole silver country curves home. The dream of the bright night thins now, silver going soft, going grey, the laughter of the children folding away into the sound of the reeds. And you settle back into the deep of the true night, the dark one, the near one, where the fire keeps its small gold and your people breathe around you, carrying the moon's lesson down with you like a smooth white stone. She returns, it all returns, sleep and return. Now let the night grow wider for a while, and older, for yours is not the only fire burning in the great dark of this world. And once, long before this camp, the fires on the far hills belonged to another kind of human altogether. Drift back and back, deep into the age of the great cold, to a river valley in a country that will one day be called Spain. The night there is colder than yours and grander. Mountains stand white under the stars. The river talks to itself in the dark below a long limestone cliff, and in the face of that cliff there is a vast rock shelter, a stone brow jutting over a floor of trodden earth, and on that floor, this deep winter night, 7 fires are burning. Come near, softly, in the way of drifting thought, and look at the people around them. They are people. Let that be said first and warmest. They stand a little shorter than your people, and far stronger, broad in the chest and shoulder as wrestlers, made for the cold ages they were born to. Their faces are heavy-browed and large-nosed and weathered, and in the firelight, bent over their work and their children, those faces hold everything a firelit face holds: patience, weariness, amusement, love. These are the Neanderthals, the old cousins, the other humanity, and they have owned the nights of this cold country for 200,000 years and more, since long before your kind's grandmothers ever saw these valleys. And see what they have made of the night, for it is all quite wonderfully familiar. The great shelter is arranged. That is what the studiers of the deep past found, when they came at last to this cliff and lifted its floors, layer by layer, out of the deep of time. Not a huddle of brutes in a hole, but a household. Here, toward the back wall, where the stone gathers and returns the warmth, lay the sleeping places and the small hearths that warmed them. There, Nearer the shelter's mouth, the big fires, the working fires, ringed with the litter of tool-making and the bones of the cooked meals. The floors held the ghost shapes of wooden things, imprints pressed into the old mud, trays and wedges and worked branches, a household's furniture, long rotted but remembered by the earth. Fire upon fire upon fire, hundreds of hearths stacked down through the strata, the same families, or their children's children's children, returning season after season, ice age after ice age, to the same warm brow of stone. They kept house here for 50,000 years. No dwelling of your world has been loved so long. Watch them through this one winter night, the old cousins, at their evening. The fires are fed with the valley's pine, and the smoke drifts out under the stone brow and away beneath the stars. Meat from the day's hunt turns near the coals, horse tonight, perhaps, or the red deer of the hills, and the fat drips and flares, and the smell is the same good smell that filled your own camp at dusk. The strong hands work by firelight, and they are clever hands, pressing fine flakes from a stone core with small exact touches, twisting plant fiber into cord, for they know cord. Mending a wooden spear's balance with an eye no less fine than any that came after. A child, thick-limbed and bright-eyed, leans against a grandmother's broad back and fights sleep exactly as children fight it. And there is talk. Softly, in the dark of deep time, we cannot hear its words or know its shape, but the throat and ear of these people were made as yours are made, and around fires like these. On 10 million winter nights, it is hard to believe the dark was silent. Perhaps there were stories, perhaps there were songs, low ones, fitting the cold. They buried their dead, these people, with care, in the sheltering earth of their homes. Those who do that have things to say to one another in the night. And when the evening was spent, they slept, close together at the warm back wall, banked in furs and one another, their small hearths glowing, their great fires settling, exactly as your own people sleep tonight. Here, then, is the thought to hold, warm and strange and gentle, as you drift above their sleeping household. For the longest stretch of the human story, your kind was not alone in the night. Across the dark of the whole vast world, other fires than yours were burning, kept by other hands than yours. On some nights, in some borderlands, in the long ages when the kinds met and mingled, a person of your people might stand in the darkness and see, far across a valley, on the shoulder of a far hill, the small gold star of a Neanderthal fire, and be seen in turn, fire answering fire across the night. Two humanities keeping the same old covenant with the same warm light, each thinking its own thoughts about the other, each turning back, in the end, to its own circle, its own children, its own sleep. They are gone now, the old cousins, gone long before your lakeside camp, folded away into the deep past with their 50,000 winters. But not wholly gone, and this is the last gentle wonder of them. For the kinds did meet and did mingle in those borderland ages, and the old cousins live on, a quiet thread of them, woven into the very people sleeping around you tonight, woven into nearly everyone your world will ever call human. In the cold-resistant warmth of skin, in a certain set of shoulder, in who knows what old talents of the blood, the keepers of the 7 fires walk on inside their inheritors, and will as long as your kind lasts. So the night is wider than one camp, and older than one kind, and kinder than one lineage. The fires on the far hills were family, after all. Let that settle over you like one more soft hide drawn up. The cliff shelter fades now, its 7 fires sinking back down into the deep layers of time where the earth keeps them safe. And you drift home, forward through the long ages, back to the lake, back to the grass bed and the breathing dark of your own people, carrying the greeting of the old cousins with you. Fire to fire, sleep to sleep, family to family, across 100,000 nights. All the fires are one fire, in the end. And all the sleepers, one long sleep handed down. And since we are traveling tonight, drift a little further with me, into the deepest winter the human night has ever known, into the great cold itself. For your kind kept its fires burning even there, and the way they did it is one of the warmest stories in the whole deep past. Come north and back in time again to the age of ice. Here the winters are not a season but a country. The nights of midwinter run long, far longer than the days. The sun, a brief pale guest that rises late and low, slides along the hills and is gone by what should be afternoon. Then comes the dark, 16 hours of it, 17, deep and glittering and utterly cold, night after night, week after week, the longest nights our kind has ever been asked to live through. And live through them they did. More than that, they made a home in them. Look down now, in the drifting way, at the great plain under the winter stars, snow to every horizon, blue-white under a moon ringed with frost haze. The rivers lie stilled in their beds. The air is so cold and so clear that the Star River burns overhead in a way even your lakeside sky never showed you, fierce and close and magnificent. Nothing moves on all the white world. Nothing except there. Do you see it? In the fold of the river valley, sheltered from the wind, a small gold light, steady as a promise. And around the light, a shape that should not be possible on a treeless plain in the dead of the Ice Age winter. A house. Come closer and wonder at it, for the studiers of the deep past wondered too when they found its like sunk in the old river loams of the east of Europe. On plains where no forest grew, where wood for building could not be had at any price, the people of the great cold looked at the world they were given and built their winter houses out of the one great timber their country offered. They built them out of mammoth bone. See it plainly now. A stout round house, broad as 10 sleepers lying heel to head, its foundation a ring of massive skulls and shoulder blades and long bones, set and interlocked by hands that understood their weights. Its dome, a lattice of tusks and ribs, curving together overhead like the frame of an upturned boat, and over the whole of it, hides upon hides, lapped and lashed and banked at the base with earth and snow, until the house sat on the white plain, round and tight and windproof, like a great sleeping animal, breathing smoke gently from the crown of its head. Inside, the Ice Age is abolished. Stoop through the entrance way, past the high door flap heavy with frost, and stand in the warmth. It strikes you like a wave, after the glittering cold, thick and golden and delicious. At the center, in a shallow hearth ringed with stones, the fire burns, and it burns strangely and beautifully, for wood is precious here. And so the fire is fed also with bone, with the oily bones of the great animals themselves, which burn slow and hot, with small hissing flares where the rich marrow catches. Around this hearth, in its steady gold light, the whole world of the household is gathered in, close and layered and warm. The sleeping places heaped deep with the furs of every winter animal, fox and hare and wolf, and the great shaggy hides of the mammoth itself, the racks of drying meat, and the stores against the deep of the season. The tools and the tool makers, the menders and the makers of cord, the children burrowed into the fur heaps like sleeping foxes, the old ones with their feet stretched to the warmth. The lamps, small stone dishes of burning fat, set in the bone niches of the walls, adding their little steady lights to the fire's great one. And outside, all around this round, warm island, the 16-hour night lies down upon the plain, and the frost deepens, and the stars blaze, and the wind draws its long cold bow across the snow, and none of it, not one breath of it, can get in. This is the fire's finest hour, and the fire knows it. All that we have seen tonight, every gift the flame has given, comes to its full measure here in the deep of the great cold, Elsewhere, fire is comfort. Here it is the whole possibility of life, and it is tended accordingly, with a devotion beyond anything your mild lakeside nights require. The winter fire of the north is never, ever let die. It is banked with the care of a sleeping child, fed on a rhythm old as the household, watched through every hour of the enormous night by the woven watch of the sleepers. The risers of the first sleep and the watch in the second sleep, handing it one to another down the long darkness like the precious thing it is. In the morning that comes so late, its warmth is the morning. In the evening that comes so early, its light is the evening. For whole moons together, the fire is the sun of this house, and the people live in its little golden day while the true sun makes its brief pale visits far away above the snow. And here is the wonder that should settle over you softest of all. Within this bone house, within this deepest winter of the world, the human night keeps every one of its old sweet shapes. The evening meal is shared out around the hearth, rich and hot, the marrow and the fat that the cold body craves, and it is passed in the old order, the elders served soft, the children served first. The talk rises as the bowls empty, and turns as the night deepens, from the day's work to the tellings. And the long stories of the winter fires are the longest and best of all the year's stories, for the nights are long enough at last to hold them entire. The children fall asleep inside the story's rhythm, in the fur heaps, in the gold light, exactly as children fell asleep at your lakeside, exactly as children will fall asleep forever. The sky is red through the smoke hole, the old ones marking the slow wheel of the winter stars, the great hunter standing at his highest in the deep of the deepest month, keeping his cold watch over the house's warm one. And when the fire is banked, and the lamps are pinched to their glow points, and the household lies down together in the deep furs, close as a litter, warm as summer, the sentinel pattern spreads its old net over them, and the midwinter night, 16 hours of glittering iron cold, is crossed as easily, as softly, as sweetly as any mild night of the mild south. They did this every winter, for hundreds of generations. On the coldest nights our kind has ever slept through, in houses built from the bones of giants, the people of the great cold ate well, and told their stories, and tended their son, and slept in heaps like sleeping foxes, warm, watched, and unafraid. Whatever winter you have known, or will ever know, remember them, and let the memory warm you, for you are their heir, tonight and every night. The deep human talent for making warmth in the middle of dark and cold, for building the small golden world inside the great white one, came down to you from those bone houses on the frozen plain, tested in the hardest nights there ever were, and proven, and proven, and proven. The cold never won, not once in 100,000 winters. The fire always came through to morning, and so, sleeper, will you. One more journey now, the strangest and the most beautiful of them all, before the night begins its slow turn toward morning, for there is one darkness left to visit. The darkness the people of the fires chose to enter, the painted dark. All the darks of this long night have come to your kind unasked. The dusk falls, the winter closes in, the moon wanes, and the people answer with fire and fellowship. But there is one dark that no one ever needed to enter, the dark inside the earth. The deep caves, past the reach of the last daylight, down the turning stone, passages where no food is, no water is, no shelter is needed, nothing at all that a practical life requires. The great animals do not go there. The cold does not require it. Every plain necessity of the world says simply, stay out. And the people went in. They went in with light in their hands. That is how it was possible at all. And long after these nights, the studiers of the deep past found their lamps and marveled at them, and even lit their like again to learn what they could do. Small dishes of soft stone, shaped to sit in the palm, the hollow filled with animal fat, tallow of the great herds, and a wick of juniper laid in it. Lit, such a lamp gives a small, steady, warm gold flame, near as bright as a candle, and it burns a surprisingly long while, an hour and more on a filling, and it does not gutter in the cave's still air, and its light reaches out to the span of a room around the walker. One of the loveliest of them, carved and smooth, with markings on its handle, was found lying on the floor of a painted cave in France, where its last carrier set it down 17,000 years ago. So walk now, in the drifting way, behind one of those little flames, down into the earth. The passage from the world begins as grey twilight, the daylight thinning behind you, and then, at a turning of the stone, the last of it is gone, and there is only the lamp. Its gold circle slides along with you over the pale walls. The air grows utterly still and cool, and even, the same cool in every season, for the seasons do not reach here. The sounds of the world are gone entire, the wind, the water, the insect choir, all of it sealed away behind you. And in its place is a silence so deep and so old that you can hear the small flutter of the lamp flame, and your own breath, and your own blood. The dark beyond your gold circle is not the night's dark. It is the original dark, the dark from before the first morning of the world, and it parts before the little flame, and closes behind it, and the flame walks on. And then the lamp lifts, at the end of the long passage, in the great chamber, and the walls are alive. Horses. A whole river of horses, flowing along the swell of the stone, their manes bristling, their legs overlapping in the run. Great bulls, drawn vast, vaster than life, striding across the ceiling of the world, deer with antlers like winter trees, swimming a stone river with their heads high. Bison turning to look back over their shoulders. Here and there among the animals, signs, dots and strokes and lattices, saying what they say. And pressed onto the rock, small and exact and unbearably near, the outlined hands. Hands of the painters, hands of their children, held to the wall while the color was blown around them, so that the stone keeps forever the one mark that says, more plainly than any other mark can say it, a person was here. In the lamp's moving light, and this the studiers found when they carried their relit lamps below, the paintings do not lie still. The little flame breathes, and the gold circle sways, and the shadows in the carved hollows of the stone stir and shift, and the herds seem to shoulder and flow along the walls at the edges of the light, moving as you move, alive in the only light they were ever meant to live in. The painters worked by this same small fire, in this same breathing gold, sometimes far from the sun, hours of walking far, lying on their backs on scaffolds of lashed wood, grinding their reds from the iron earths and their blacks from the fire's own charcoal, painting the moving herds by a light that moved. Why? Softly, sleeper, for here the deep past keeps its greatest silence, and everyone who has stood in the painted dark has felt the question, and no one has ever carried a whole answer out. Perhaps the herds were painted to call the real herds to the hunter. Perhaps the deep dark was the spirit country itself, and the painted walls its meeting places, where the ones who journeyed in trance, in the drum's rhythm, in the lamp flame's flicker, met the animal spirits halfway. Perhaps some of the star pictures of the summer sky are painted among the herds, the great bull carrying his cluster of dots that some readers of the walls match to the very sisters you watched rise over the lake tonight, though other readers shake their heads, and the walls keep their counsel. Perhaps it was all of these. Perhaps it was something for which no later age has any word at all. The paintings do not explain. They only remain patient as the stone, more than 3 times older than the oldest writing on earth, waiting in the dark with the answer folded away inside them. But this much comes out of the painted dark with every visitor, and you may carry it back up toward your bed. Whatever the paintings meant, they mean this. that the people of the fires, your people, the very people whose evening meal and star-watching and grass beds you have shared all this night, were not only surviving their world. In the little gold circle of a stone lamp, in the deepest dark there is, with hands full of earth and charcoal, they were making beauty. Beauty of such power that when it was found again, after 17,000 years, the finders wept, and the greatest painters of the modern world went down to look, and came up humbled. The night of the deep past held terrors, the later ages will tell you, and hardship, and the long cold. But go down into the earth and hold up your lamp, and see what the night of the deep past actually left behind. Horses running in firelight. A child's hand, printed in red, held steady by some larger, gentler hand. The lamp turns back now. The gold circle slides homeward along the pale walls, past the flowing herds, up the long passages, toward the far grey breadth of the outer world. And you rise with it, up out of the painted dark, up through the turning stone, out under the wheeling stars, and home across the silver country to the lakeside, to the low gold fire, to the shelter and the breathing dark, and the deep grass bed that has held your shape warm for you all this while. The little flame is set down, the night receives you back. And the herds run on in the dark below the world, beautiful and patient, keeping the oldest secret, while you settle toward the last of your sleep. Deep in the last of the dark, the world arrives at its stillest hour. This is the hour with no name, the hour at the bottom of the night. The moon has gone down at last behind the western hills, and the sky belongs wholly to the stars again, and even they seem to burn quieter now, lower in their lamps, patient, waiting. The cold has touched its floor. The air lies without a breath of movement over the water and the sleeping land, so still that the lake has become a perfect black mirror, holding a second sky as deep as the first. The insect choir has sung itself out entirely. The frogs are silent. Even the fire has spoken its last word for a while, settled to a bed of coals under soft ash, glowing without a single flame, giving its heat like a sleeping animal gives it, silently from within. Nothing in the whole valley is awake, almost nothing. Only you, at the very surface of your sleep, risen just far enough to feel the stillness, the way a swimmer feels the calm of deep water without opening their eyes. Stay there, in that shallow, warm place. There is nothing to rise for. This chapter of the night asks even less of you than all the others. It asks only that you drift here a while, at the edge of knowing, while the great quiet holds the world, and let the whole long night settle over you, one last time, in memory, soft as ash settling over coals. For look how far you have come, sleeper, since the last gold of evening. You walked home in the failing light, and the first star found you on the path. You sat in the circle while the fire was fed, and warmed your hands at a flame that has been handed down, keeper to keeper, for 1,000,000 years. You shared the evening meal, the roots and the fish and the deep marrow, passed hand to hand in the old order, no one taken before, no one forgotten. You heard the talk turn golden as the dark came down, the day's small business melting away, the stories rising in its place, the way they have risen at every fire since fires began. You heard the long story told from the beginning of the world down to the names of the grandmothers, and you drifted inside its rhythm as the children drifted, and it entered you, as it was always meant to. You lay back in the grass and watched the star river pour across the height of heaven, and a star fell, and the sky went on, faithful and enormous. You watched the worn moon rise and thought of the marked bones, the little counted months held in ancient hands. You lay down at last into a bed 200,000 years deep, grass over ash, sweet with the chosen leaves, and first sleep took you down into the night's great mending. You woke in the valley of the watch, and it was not a mistake. and you fed the fire in the middle of the night, as someone has done in every camp on every night of the human story. You learned that you have never once slept unguarded, that the woven watch of your people holds the dark in a net of gentle waking, 18 unwatched minutes in 20 nights, and the fire standing sentinel through all of it. You heard the night singing, every voice in its place, and the far call of the great cat rolled over the camp like distant thunder promising no storm, and the old truce held, as it has always held. You crossed into second sleep, the morning sleep, the tender one, and the country of dreams opened its gates, and you traveled, and the whole camp traveled beside you, every sleeper on their own bright path. You walked the silver roads of the full moon's night. You visited the old cousins at their 7 fires under the stone brow, and found them family. You stood in the bone house on the frozen plain, while the deepest winter in the world pressed harmless against the hides. You carried a small stone lamp down into the original dark, and the walls came alive with running horses, and a child's hand, printed in red, reached across 17,000 years and rested, weightless, in yours. All of it, one night, the one night, told whole. The night your kind has kept, in all its chapters, since before it knew itself, and keeps still, folded away inside every night you have ever slept through, wherever you are, whoever you are, however far the fires seem from you now. They are not far. That is the quiet truth at the bottom of this stillest hour. Every piece of the old night lives on in you, tonight, this very night, the one you are sleeping through as you listen. Your body still banks its warmth to the cooling of the dark, still does its deep mending in the front of the night, still dreams toward morning, still surfaces softly in the small hours, in the old valley of the watch, and means nothing wrong by it. Your ear still sorts the sounds of your own safe place and lets you sleep on. Your mind still loosens at evening, still turns from the day's business toward stories as the light goes, still reaches for voices, for warmth, for the circle. You are not a stranger to the people of the fires. You are their child, keeping their night without knowing it, and everything in you that loves a lamplit evening, a shared meal, a story told slowly, a warm bed in a cold room. The sound of rain on a good roof is their long inheritance, arriving. The stillness deepens one more degree, the way water stills just before it turns. And there, at the very rim of the world, in the east, beyond the black hills, something has changed. It is almost nothing. The stars there have gone the smallest shade softer, the darkness the faintest breath less deep, as though the sky had exhaled. No eye that was not watching for it would see it at all. The camp does not see it. You, at the warm edge of your sleep, barely feel it, a lightning somewhere far away, none of your concern. The great wheel is turning. It was turning all night, star by star, and it is turning now, carrying the deep dark slowly westward, carrying the east up toward the light. Let it turn. It needs no help, and never has. Sink back down now, from the shallow, warm place, one last easy descent, while the stillest hour holds, and the coals glow on under their ash, and the first grey thought of morning gathers itself. Unhurried, a whole soft hour away, at the far edge of the sleeping world. The night did everything it promised. It is finishing its work now, gently, all around you. Sleep the last sweet stretch of it. And now, at the pace of a sleeping breath, the light comes back to the world. It begins where you felt it begin, in the east above the hills, a greying so slow that no moment of it can be caught. The deep blue-black of the night sky thins there, softens, lifts, like breath fading from cold stone, and the last stars of the east loosen their hold one by one, and let the paleness take them. Without protest, in the order they came, first the faint ones, then the bright, each slipping away as gently as a sleeper's thought. The great river of stars that poured all night across the height of heaven gathers itself slowly westward ahead of the light, and dims and goes, not out, never out, only home, below the rim of the turning world, where it will wait through the bright hours, whole and safe, for its next appointment with the dark. The land comes back by shades. First the hills find their edges again, black against the greying east. Then the grey gains the valley, and shapes rise out of the dark one after another, faithful, all where they were left. The reeds along the shore, the round backs of the shelters, silvered with dew, the drying racks, the beached shapes at the waterline, the thin standing thread of smoke above the banked fire. The lake turns from black to iron to pearl, and a low mist stands over it, soft as sleep itself, curling in slow silence. Everything the night dissolved, the dawn restores, piece by piece, in perfect order, and nothing is missing, and nothing is changed. And this, every morning, is the night's last gift, and its proof that the dark takes nothing away. It only holds the world for a while, and gives it all back at first light, washed and new and cool with dew. Color comes last, and comes tenderly, a stain of rose in the grey east, deepening toward gold at the hill's rim, the pearl of the lake warming, the first true green climbing back into the reeds. And the air begins, very faintly, to move again, the small dawn wind that walks ahead of the sun, carrying the smell of the water and the wet grass and the sweet cold ash of the fire. Then the first bird. One note, somewhere in the reeds, liquid and low, a question asked of the greyness, a pause, long enough for the night to decline to answer. Then the note again, surer now, and a second voice far down the shore taking it up, and a third behind the camp, and then, in the space of a few soft breaths, the whole slow silver morning fills with them, voice upon voice, near and far, weaving over the water and the land, the oldest music of the lit world, the same dawn chorus that woke the bone houses of the frozen plain and the 7 fires under the stone brow, and every camp of every morning back to the beginning. It is not loud, it does not startle. It rises around the sleeping camp like light itself, and the camp, deep in the last and sweetest sleep of the night, hears it far down in its dreams, and knows it, and is comforted by it, and does not wake. For no one wakes yet, and neither do you. That is the mercy of the old morning, and the last kindness of this long night. Dawn in the world of the fires was never an alarm. The light comes gradual as the tide, and the sleepers rise through the last of their sleep as slowly as the light comes, drifting upward through the thinning dark of their dreams, the way the valley drifts upward through the thinning dark of the night, gently, by degrees, in their own time. Soon, not yet, but soon, the first riser will stir, the grandmother whose light morning sleep releases her earliest, and she will lie a while listening to the birds, content, and then fold back her hide and go softly to the fire, and kneel, and part the grey ash, and find there, glowing faithfully, the coals that cross the whole night alive. And she will feed them their first small twigs, and breathe on them, and the first flame of the new day will stand up in the grey light, and the thread of smoke will thicken and rise, and the fire, the million-year fire, will be handed on across one more night, as it has been handed on across them all. But that is still to come. That belongs to the day, and the day can wait for you. Here, now, in the shelter's soft half-light, you lie in the deepest comfort the night has to give. The bed has long since become simply part of you, warm past, noticing, holding your shape like a hand holds water. The breathing of your people is slow and even around you, every sleeper safe, every traveller home from the country of dreams or lingering on its last bright roads. The birdsong washes over the shelter, silver and endless. The mist stands on the pearl-coloured lake. The east fills, slow as honey with rose and gold. You made it through, sleeper, as they always did, as you always will. The whole night lies behind you now, complete, every chapter kept. The fire tended, the meal shared, the stories told, the stars watched, the watch stood, the truce held, the dreams travelled, the cold outlasted. The beauty made in the deepest dark. Nothing was lost in all those hours. Nothing was ever going to be lost. The night of the deep past was never the enemy the later world imagined. It was the shelter of your kind, the school of it, the church and the hearth and the cradle of it, the place where the stories and the closeness and the mind itself were made, night after firelit night, for 100,000 generations, until they made you. So rest in that, in the last soft minutes of the dark. You are the newest sleeper in the oldest camp there is. The line of the fires runs unbroken from the first kept flame to the warmth you are lying in now, and every hand that ever fed a night fire fed it, in the end, forward toward you. You were watched for all down the ages. You were provided for before you were imagined. And tonight, this actual night, wherever you are, the whole deep inheritance is doing again what it has always done, holding you, warming you, watching over your sleep with a faithfulness older than the hills it learned from. The light grows, the birds weave the morning, the coals wait in the ash, alive. Let it all come in its own slow time. Close your eyes now, all the way, and let go of even this, the last voice of the night, thinning away like the mist on the water, softer and softer and softer still. The fire is kept. The circle holds. You are safe, sleeper, as your kind has always been safe in the heart of the night. Sleep now, sleep. If this night brought you rest, you are warmly welcome to like this video or to subscribe, so these journeys can find you again on the evenings you need them. It is a small thing, and it helps more than you know. Another calm journey into the deep past is waiting on your screen whenever you are ready. But all of that can wait until morning. For now, let your shoulders soften, let your breath grow slow. The night is still, and you are safe inside it. Good night, and sweet dreams.